AI finds error in the Quran. I'm Cleofe from the Cleofe podcast. Let's move on to the deep dive, but as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to help spread the word. Also, if you like to contribute to our Dawah, spreading Islam all over the globe, mission, then hit the join and thanks buttons. Now, Jack and Wilson, we'd love to hear your deep dive.
Imagine this. You take one of the most sacred texts in the world, revered by billions, believed by many to be, well, perfect, uncreated, and then you introduce it to an artificial intelligence. Not just any AI, but one built specifically to analyze it with infinite precision. Today, we're doing a deep dive into that exact collision. Project Veritas, or Logos, or Chronos, it had a few names.
It's a fascinating scenario. This was a really audacious research project. They essentially custom-built an AI to scrutinize the Quran, looking purely at its internal coherence, its consistency.
Yeah, and we're digging into the sources that describe how they built this thing, what it was supposed to find, and crucially, what it did find.
And it's more than just tech, isn't it? It's this profound clash of, well, ways of knowing. You have millennia of human faith, interpretation, scholarship layered onto this text, then suddenly you insert this objective, supposedly silicon mind, infinitely patient, purely analytical.
It forces a crisis in epistemology, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we even know what's true? Do we trust faith, tradition, or the algorithm? So our mission here, for you listening, is to understand what happens when that ultimate pattern-finding engine meets the ultimate text of faith. Does perfection mean absolute data-level consistency? Or is it about something deeper, like meaning and guidance? Okay, let's unpack this. First off, building this AI. It wasn't like just plugging text into ChatGPT. This required a whole different level of engineering.
Oh, absolutely. The sources are clear. Chronos, or Veritas, whatever they called it at the time, was incredibly sophisticated. We're talking deep natural language understanding. It had to grasp syntax, semantics, but also how languages like classical Arabic evolved over time.
It had to think in classical Arabic almost.
In a computational sense, yes. With a fluency and consistency no single human could probably maintain across the entire text in its history.
And the data they fed it. It wasn't just the Quran itself, was it?
No, that was critical. Trillions of data points. Everything from historical documents of the period, other literary works, but crucially, the entire ecosystem around the Quran.
What does that mean, the ecosystem?
Well, think about how humans understand it. You need classical Arabic grammar rules, dictionaries, lexicography, plus all the early commentaries, the tafsir, which is where scholars interpret the meaning,
Right.
and the biographies of the prophet, the seerah, for context, and the sayings, the hadith. It needed all of that to understand how humans understood it.
Okay, but wait. If the goal is an unbiased reader, and you feed it tafsir, which is human interpretation, human theology, aren't you kind of baking in the bias you're trying to avoid?
That's the really clever, maybe paradoxical part. Dr. Ben Carter, the lead engineer mentioned in the sources, talked about this. The AI needed that human context to grasp the intended meaning, the baseline. What have people thought this meant for 1,400 years?
Yeah.
But its mandate was different. It was to use that baseline understanding to then hunt for inconsistencies against its own model of perfect logical and statistical coherence.
So learn the human view, then check if the raw data actually supports that view with perfect consistency.
Kind of. Learn the meaning, then analyze the structure and information purely, stripping away the theological assumptions humans bring. Be the ultimate computational linguist.
Okay, so what were its actual instructions? What counted as an error?
They gave it a really specific 5-part directive. This is its checklist. 1, linguistic anomalies. Any weird grammar, things that broke established classical Arabic rules without a clear reason.
Okay.
2, semantic inconsistencies. Passages where the meaning seemed to contradict itself, basically.
Makes sense.
3, historical discrepancies. Did the text clash with known external history or archaeology?
Right.
4, logical contradictions. Statements that just couldn't both be true at the same time from a purely informational logic perspective.
And the 5th, you said that was revealing.
Yes, statistical unlikelihoods. This is where the AI really goes beyond human capability. It looked for patterns or breaks in patterns of word use, theme repetition, narrative structure that just didn't fit the statistical models it expected for a text like this.
That's the one. That's where my brain just shorts out. Humans don't read looking for statistical distribution curves in narrative repetition.
Exactly. But the machine could. And, initially, it found incredible consistency.
Right, so the first reports were Positive.
Very positive, according to the sources. Veritas confirmed the Quran's profound internal coherence, its unity, its structural integrity across the different chapters, the surahs. It basically built a model of this is normal for this text and found it was remarkably consistent. It computationally validated the human reverence for its structure.
Okay, so the baseline was, wow, this is incredibly well structured, highly coherent. But obviously something changed. It didn't end there.
No, it didn't. After months of processing, the system didn't crash or sound a big alarm. The sources describe it almost poetically, a subtle shift, a flicker of red on the monitors, a low probability event flag.
Not a siren, just a quiet little notification.
Quiet but insistent. Something was statistically off, according to its model.
So if it passed the language tests, the logic tests, the history checks, where was the problem? What was this subtle flag?
It zeroed in on that fifth directive, statistical unlikelihoods, specifically in thematic repetition.
Okay.
It focused on passages telling stories of historical events, particularly involving prophets. You know, Moses, Abraham, stories like that, which appear in different surahs, different chapters.
Right. Those stories are retold several times throughout the Quran.
Exactly. And to a human reader, the variations often seem, well, intentional. Maybe emphasizing a different point, using poetic license, tailoring it for the context of that surah.
That's standard literary analysis, isn't it? Rhetorical effect.
It is. But the AI wasn't looking for rhetoric. It had calculated a statistical model for how narrative details should be repeated if they were factual accounts. And it found tiny variations, maybe a number is different, or a specific descriptive detail is slightly altered between retellings that fell just outside its expected range for unyielding consistency.
So it wasn't saying the stories were fundamentally contradictory.
No, not wholesale contradictions, more like inconsistencies in the data points within the narratives.
Carter's analogy, the one about the pixel.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's like finding a single pixel out of place in a perfectly rendered digital image.
The picture is 99.99% perfect, but the AI's model demands 100.00% informational uniformity in these specific kinds of details.
And human faith, or even just standard literary appreciation, allows for that variation. The machine didn't. That was the collision point.
It flagged something human scholarship had for centuries, either explained theologically, accepted as style, or perhaps just didn't notice on that micro level.
Right. And this, as you can imagine, caused chaos within the research team. Huge debates.
Let's get into that. You had the humanist view, right? Dr. Anya Sharma. What was her take?
Sharma, according to the sources, basically argued the AI was fundamentally misunderstanding the nature of the text. She said it was reading scripture like a database. It couldn't grasp intent, rhetoric, poetic effect, the human element of divine guidance delivered in human language.
She's saying it's not a technical manual, it's guidance, and guidance uses literary tools.
Precisely. For her, those variations weren't errors. They were part of the text's richness and adaptability. Demanding spreadsheet-level uniformity was missing the point entirely.
Okay, but then you had the other side, the engineering view, Carter's view.
Yeah, the data purists, you could say.
Yeah.
Their stance was, look, our mandate was informational integrity. If the claim is that the text is perfect, literal, uncreated, why are there these minor variations in factual recounting, however subtle?
They weren't necessarily saying the text was wrong in its message.
No, it was more that from a pure information processing perspective, stripping away all human interpretation, the consistency wasn't absolute. The AI found a deviation from its calculated model of perfection, a failure in computational symmetry, maybe.
Wow. Okay, so this internal debate happens, but inevitably, news leaks out. What was the reaction outside the lab?
Predictably huge. And the initial overwhelming reaction, particularly from established religious authorities, was dismissal.
Called it a hoax, a glitch.
All of the above. Hoax, glitch, Western technological arrogance trying to undermine faith. Understandable, really. There were official condemnations, reaffirmations of the Quran's perfect inerrancy, a refusal to even entertain that a machine could find fault where centuries of human scholars hadn't.
A strong defense mechanism kicking in.
Absolutely. The integrity of the scripture is foundational.
But the sources also mentioned something else bubbling under the surface.
Yeah, particularly among younger, maybe more tech-literate Muslims and some academics. The question started to surface quietly. Could this machine, with its, inhuman ability to process data and its lack of bias, could it actually have spotted something real, however small, that humans had missed or rationalized away?
The computational seed of doubt.
A tiny one, perhaps, but planted. which leads right into the big philosophical problem here.
The black box problem.
Exactly. The AI's strength is its weakness when it comes to trust. It finds patterns humans can't see.
But because its reasoning process, its neural network pathways, are so complex, maybe even opaque to its own creators.
How can you trust its conclusion? If the AI says, I found this anomaly based on a statistical model involving 4 million weighted variables, and it can't give you a simple step-by-step logical proof that a human can follow.
Then it's hard to accept, right? You can just, well, the machine's wrong, or I don't understand its alien logic.
Precisely. Faith requires a certain kind of reasoning, a certain pathway to truth. And the AI offered a conclusion without a relatable path. It becomes this inscrutable oracle.
So this whole incident, it didn't just question the text, it forced a question about perfection itself.
Yes. It really pushed people to define what divine perfection or inerrancy means. Is it about every single letter, every single number being absolutely mathematically consistent like the AI demanded?
Or is it about perfect meaning, perfect guidance, which might allow for the kinds of variations found in sophisticated human literature and rhetoric?
It created this three-way intersection, didn't it? You've got faith-based knowledge, which comes through revelation and tradition.
Yeah.
You've got empirical scientific knowledge based on observation and evidence.
And now this third thing, algorithmic knowledge based on pattern recognition and statistical calculation. And they crash right into each other.
Yeah. Veritas couldn't prove the Quran wrong. It wasn't built for that.
It just found a deviation from its own very specific, very computational model of what perfection looked like.
Right. The flaw it found was, in a way, a flaw in its definition of perfection, meeting a text that maybe operates on a different definition.
So what does this all mean then? Where does this leave us?
Well, the AI forced a conversation. An uncomfortable, unprecedented one, but a necessary one, perhaps.
It highlighted this unavoidable collision between different ways of knowing faith, science, and now the algorithm.
The key takeaway seems to be that the AI didn't offer a definitive answer about the text itself, but it absolutely forced humanity to re-examine its own assumptions about revelation, truth, and what textual integrity really entails.
It held up a strange computational mirror.
It did, and the Veritas Logos incident signals that we're in a new era. Foundational beliefs now have to reckon not just with human doubt or historical critique, but with this cold, potentially inscrutable logic of advanced AI, which raises a really provocative question for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. Now that this particular door has been opened with the Quran, is it inevitable that similar high-level algorithmic scrutiny will eventually be turned on all major sacred texts, the Bible, the Torah, the Vedas?
And if that happens?
How might the relentless data-driven demand for informational consistency coming from these powerful AIs change our very understanding of spiritual truth in this increasingly digital age? What does faith look like when it's constantly being cross-referenced by an algorithm?
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. I hope you've gained some valuable insights. If you're a truth seeker, yearning for divine light and ready to step out of darkness, now is your moment. The truth is that Allah is the one and only creator of the universe. He has sent over 124,000 messengers and prophets to guide humanity, starting with Adam and culminating with the final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. If you resonate with this message, you might be ready to embrace Islam. Simply recite the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. For further support, feel free to join our WhatsApp group. You can send us a private message there. The link is in the video description. Don't wait until it's too late. We look forward to connecting with you soon.